What about this model did you find so challenging?
Oh, I don't know. I think it had something to do with the giant, oversized, irregular polyhedron that is in no way a shape that any sane person should attempt to build out of Lego.
I guess that would do it.
And there were also a couple other minor issues with the frame. You see, this model is based off of what I consider my earliest advanced mock, the Nemesis from Resident Evil 3.
What made you recycle an old design instead of making a new one?
Both the Nemesis and Pyramid Head have coverings over their legs, along with a similar form factor, so it seemed like a good idea rather than starting from scratch. But as I began reverse engineering, I ran into a few issues. Given my inexperience at the time, Nemesis's frame is quite fragile, not to mention I had in mind to make it more of an action figure, but posable legs don't really work with an outfit such as this. In the end, I had to overhaul the internals, which was made easier given the assortment of new pieces that did not exist at the time.
The biggest change appears to be with the shoulders.
Yes, and that is where things began breaking down. If you look at a LEGO construction figure, you will notice that they are built with the studs facing sideways. This allows for better layering to strengthen the frame. I unfortunately built the shoulders with studs facing up, and without any reinforcement at that, which means if you move the arms too aggressively, they'll come off. On top of that, I load the right shoulder to give the illusion that he is leaning over while dragging the great knife, which just adds another level of complexity.
Fun fact, the great knife is actually half of a pair of scissors.
That's right. Since Pyramid Head is James's representation of guilt, the great knife found in the labyrinth was going to be the other half, symbolizing the connection between the two, but there wasn't enough development time to flesh out the concept.
Sort of like how you did not flesh out the shoulders?
Heh, sure. It's passable since it's a display figure after all, but I also ran into the same problem with unsecured hips, although fortunately I was able to remedy the problem there.
Then I suppose it is time to move on to the main attraction.
Of course the most difficult part would be the defining feature, but it's just such a ridiculous shape. I had an extremely hard time even figuring out the silhouette. I'd look at reference pictures and just go blank. I even ended up taking a 2-week break just to clear my head.
It does not seem that uncommon for you to take extended breaks before finishing a model.
That's not exactly the same thing. This one stemmed from a general inability to accurately replicate the head. My initial concept is the one I ended up going with, but refining it was tedious, and led me to at least attempt some other prototypes.
There is a lot going on.
Tell me about it. The side angles are different from the back, which is different from the front, which is supposed to drop down substantially more than I could make it without breaking up the outline. Then there's this lip underneath the whole thing, and it's just a mess.
It appears you are using 45-degree slopes in the center of the front. However, if that is the case, they should not be aligning as seamlessly as they are.
True, but if you take the cutout version and stagger them in half-plate increments, they form a smooth line. Although this is usually not a viable technique given the gaps, I was able to cover them up with 8x8 wedge plates on each side. In fact, that space was going to be filled with only 8x8 wedge plates, but I forgot that you can't just squish plates back to back like that.
But the gap is 2 studs wide. Does that not mean 5 plates would fill it correctly?
Yes and no. While it's technically true that 5 plates equal 2 studs, in reality it's 4 plates and a tile. Tiles are minutely thinner than plates, which is why, for example, you're allowed to slot them in between studs, but not plates.
Something to note, since the head is angled forward, you added some dark red slopes at the neck to give the impression that the lip straightens out, but it is missing the, how should I put it, flesh-like bag under it.
That section was kind of tricky. The original Silent Hill 2 model for Pyramid Head is, well, let's just say the quality can make it hard to discern what's what, and I couldn't tell if that blob was in the original or added in later media, although if I had just read the wiki I would have gotten my answer. Even still, I'm honestly not sure how I would add it without it being too foreign compared to the rest of the build.
Perhaps another project for another day?
Perhaps.
There are 2 versions of your model. One with the lowered shoulder and tilted head like mentioned previously, and another with even shoulders which can rotate its head. Yet you only released instructions for the former. Was there a particular reason?
Not a good one. It's just I keep designing models with variants which look similar but are quite different internally, and I was already fatigued from the whole thing that I didn't want to go through the hassle.
Understandable. So when are you going to make a Brickheads version?
Yeah, no, that's not happening anytime soon. Although I have seen an off-brand chibi-styled Pyramid Head floating around the web that doesn't look half bad. Or you could just buy the Nendoroid.
I guess.
And I guess that's all from us for now. If you'd like to see more, you can check out the links in the description.
Thanks for stopping by.
Have a good one.